Well, hey there, Oxnard. Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of our Station 3 Stories. This week, or this month, we are joined by a very special guest, brand new Commander, Marc Amon. Commander, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so here at Station 3 Stories, we just kind of like to get to know the people around Oxnard and the police department and find out kind of what makes you tick and what caused you to make the decisions to bring you to where you are today. So let's start from the very beginning. Tell us, Commander Marc Amon, born and raised?
Born and raised here. I was actually, when my dad was still in the Navy, I was born at the Wainimi base. And first house that I can remember, we were in Diamond Bar neighborhood. Then we moved into the new College Estates development back around 1978 or so. And so from there, I went to Fred Williams Elementary School right there at Barton Anchorage, then to Blackstock Junior High School, then to Channel Islands High School.
Wow, so like whole life here in Oxnard, or did you do live anywhere else at any point?
No, whole life has been here. Kind of great and a little sad, but it's okay.
Not sad at all for someone, you know, in a position like you to be serving the city that you've lived in your whole life. I think that's pretty spectacular. Or how old were you when you decided you wanted to be a police officer? When did that start?
Well, that didn't start until I would probably say I was about 20 or 21 at the time. I was going to Ventura College and after high school, and I was really into the weightlifting, so I really wanted to open up a gym or something of that nature. But I lost a lot of interest in going to school, so I stopped going to school. But yet, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she was still attending college, and I definitely did not want to be without a career while she was still on track to doing her own. So I actually had a couple of friends that were hired onto the department here, and then one at another department that kind of piqued my interest into seeing this as an option. And once I did, I took a little bit of an inventory of my own personal skills and traits, and thought that, okay, well, yeah, I think I can do this.
Super cool. So you're dating your wife who's in college, and you're 21. When did you guys meet?
We met in high school,
actually.
High school. Yeah.
High school sweethearts.
High school sweethearts.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so you're 21 when you decide to make this career shift. What had you done professionally before that?
I was actually working in real estate for a title insurance company at the time before I got hired here. And I did a few other small sales jobs, just trying to work on, I guess, my sales skills, my customer service skills, things of that nature.
Okay. So what year was it when you applied?
1995 when I applied. Can
you describe for us what the hiring process was like back then?
It was, it's still very much very similar to what we still have now, a written test. And I can remember one of the things when taking that written test, I had read a test preparation book, and one of the things was obviously the process of elimination, learning how to do that, and then also writing in the book, which we were not supposed to do during the testing. I got so nervous I thought I was going to get kicked out, but I did it anyway, drawing on the map and stuff, and then trying to erase it vigorously during the written test. And right after the written test, we were actually told, so we don't do this now, but we did this back then, where if your name was called, you were either stayed in the room or you had to leave. And if you got to stay in the room, then you were moving on to take the physical agility test right away. And that's the way we used to do it. And then from the physical agility testing, they decided if they were going to put you in the background, to the background investigation, and then from there you would go to, if you passed your background investigation, your polygraph, you would go to then the chief's oral interview.
And when you went through the academy, how long was the academy?
6 months, pretty much the same as it is now.
What do you remember about training? What sticks out in your mind when you think of your training, your time on field training?
Oh my gosh, field training is so much different from the academy. The academy was very stressful in the beginning, first couple of months, and then you kind of get used to the routine. You get used to the sleep deprivation, the workouts, stuff like that. And you get a little desensitized to that. And then they let up on you, and you graduate, and then you hit field training. And field training is so much more individual. So it was a very different kind of stress. And depending on your field training officers, that stress will definitely vary. One of my field training officers is Assistant Chief Benitez, and that was definitely my most stressful phase of field training that I can remember.
Yeah. Do you remember any calls that kind of still stick with you from when you were training?
There was a few. I remember my first day going out there, a big fight happening in one of the neighborhoods in the South End, and we had got there just right after the fight had finished, so luckily, because I had no idea what was going on, no idea what to do. And then I remember another call. It's kind of disgusting, but it was somebody had passed away and was in their apartment on a very hot week, like a heat wave week, for probably for about 4 or 5 days at least before somebody called and asked us to check on them. And it was not pretty. And the things you can remember a lot, those kind of situations are like odors and things of that nature.
Was there ever any point during your training where you kind of questioned whether or not this was right for you?
Oh God, no. There was I had so much fun.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was so fun. For me, it's even now coming back to patrol in this capacity, it's really where I love being. I loved being out on the street. Loved being out there every day, meeting different people, encountering different situations, things of that nature. So that was patrol is the bread and butter of policing, and I've never gotten away from that. I've always loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're very involved in the community. You love getting out there and meeting people. And I mean, born and raised, grew up here. You're perfect for this role. Growing up in a city and then becoming a police officer there, I know a lot of police officers are like, no, I'm not going to do that because I live and I know the people that I'm contacting every day. Does it ever get awkward, or has there ever been a moment that you remember that it was like, oh, being a police officer in the city where I grew up is can get kind of weird? It
definitely can get awkward. I've had many situations where I've had to either be involved in an arrest with somebody that I knew or grew up with, and it's actually worked out. And I could honestly say that in every circumstance that I can remember, it worked out fine because they actually appreciated that I knew them, they knew me, and they knew that they made their own decisions to do what they did.
Right.
So really, even if I saw them later, after the situation was, because honestly, we see them on their worst days. In this profession, we see people on their worst days. It's just not. It's not fair to really judge them just based on that contact. And I think that's more of an advantage is that I can, when I see people like that, I know that's not how they really are, and we're still friends afterwards. So
yeah.
And a lot of times we laugh about the decision they made back then.
Yeah.
I can see why a lot of people are apprehensive about it, but it really, as adults, it really does not have that much of a negative effect on the career here.
Okay. And you had mentioned earlier that you were kind of coaxed into this by friends or family that was already doing it.
Yeah.
Or do you still work with those people, or?
Yeah, one of them had a medical retirement earlier in my career, so he ended up doing something else. One of them is still here, Officer Ray Masones. A lot of people know him too because we were at Channel Islands together, but he's my older brother's age. So he actually used to pick on me back when we were growing up. But
yeah. And any family?
And family, my sister is here, Senior Officer Hannah Estrada. She came on about 5 years after me, after she graduated from UCSB. And she would actually, I convinced her to apply here after she graduated, and she was working at Santa Barbara County Sheriff's at the time. So she came over, she's doing really well. And one of our cousins, Eric Alanaya, who has been a longtime member of our SWAT team and our Special Enforcement Unit. So he is definitely, he's family, and been working here he came on, I think, maybe a year or two after my sister. Yeah.
So for you, Oxnard Police Department truly is family.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many years, I can't do math, how many years have you been on?
I came on in '96, so I'm on my 24th year now.
Okay, and what, if you can, list all of the assignments you've had?
Ooh, yeah. It's not that many. So when I went field training officer, Special Enforcement Unit / SWAT team. I was a hostage negotiator at the time. For a time, I was on the trauma support team. I was a beat coordinator. And then I went to the personnel and training unit, where I handled training and recruitment. And then I came back to patrol. Then I went to the crime reduction unit, which was my last assignment before getting promoted. And then now I'm back, rotated back into patrol.
What are some of your favorite assignments that you've done?
I think some of my favorite assignments was when I was a beat coordinator and also worked on the neighborhood policing team. That, when I was out on the street, really helped me understand what it meant to partner with the community in a lot of ways and work with the community. I think that was one of my favorite assignments, along with working the Special Enforcement Unit. That's because I was a lot younger then, and that was just kind of a fun thing to do. But I learned a lot of skills from there. So those are a couple of assignments when I was out on the street that I loved doing. When I was when I came to work upstairs here, the personnel and training unit was a lot of fun for me, particularly the hiring part of it. I love doing the recruiting. Our team recruited some of the biggest classes that we've ever put through for our department for police officers, and so it's fun that I know a lot of the officers' backgrounds very intimately that work here, probably more than they want me to know, but that's okay. And then the last assignment at the crime reduction unit, it was a brand new unit that we started and that Chief Whitney started, focused on intelligence-led policing. So it was very innovative and very much a lot of self-initiated activity was going on there for me and for I call them the crew, was crime reduction unit. So.
Now, a really cool thing about your recent promotion is you're a first. You're a trailblazer, and you are our first Filipino-American commander.
Yes.
And how does that feel?
It's when I realized that I would be. It was actually a really good feeling to know that. I mean, not so much for myself, but for kind of like the bigger team that I'm representing with the Filipino-American community, with Phil-Ams. Typically for Filipinos growing up in Southern California, or even the United States for that matter, law enforcement is not really a typical choice.
Why? Why is that?
I honestly, I think I could speculate and say that because coming from the Philippines and a lot of other countries outside of the U.S., law enforcement is not looked upon as a very favorable profession. Kind of like, corrupt in a lot of ways, and so parents don't always push their kids to go that way. So culturally, I think we favor a lot of the medical profession, a lot of technical professions, things of that nature. So being promoted to commander level, here at Oxnard, I think I've had some applicants that were Filipino Americans, but not quite enough. So and I'm hoping that this inspires more to maybe explore this as a real possibility for them.
Yeah, and it's really important to our department to really cherish and foster the diversity of the community.
Absolutely.
So, and so cool to see. You're kind of an inspiration, I've got to say. I myself am also Filipino-American, so I think it's super cool.
Thanks.
Congratulations, yeah. And so you're also a cyborg.
Yep, I've already got started getting a little nickname of the Commander Cyborg.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to perpetuate it.
That's okay.
But so tell us a little bit about how this came about and what it is.
Okay, so so if you notice here, I have a cochlear implant, which I got installed back in November. I've had so we do a lot of shooting, and it's just part of our profession. We have to go qualify regularly, and a few years back, I lost a very significant amount of my hearing out on the range, and put me in hearing aids, and continued to do the job. Changed my trajectory of my career a little bit, which that's why it kind of brought me indoors a little bit more. But I was still able to do a lot of things out on the street. And then last year I had another episode where I ended up losing more hearing out after shooting on the range after qualifying, and but this time it was more just on the one side. So it ended up the injury ended up damaging my hearing to the point where it was almost zero. I wasn't really able to hear anything out of here. So instead of retiring, I wanted to make. I still had a lot to do. So I figured I still had a lot of good mileage left in me. I just needed to get something, a fix on this, and so cochlear implant.
So what does it do? How does it work?
It's very different.
Reader's Digest version.
Reader's Digest version is actually an amazing piece of technology that replaced my acoustic hearing, the little hair cells inside the cochlea, with an array that has electrodes at the tip, look like a tentacle, but it has its electrodes that are firing off as my new sound. So at first it's very digital, very robotic sounding. I described my wife's voice and a lot of other female voices sounding like a robot on helium.
Wow.
So, at first, but the brain actually gets used to it. I've been doing just a lot of watching Netflix with the captions on and having a headphone over it and everything. So eventually your brain will learn the new sound and accept it and make it and normalize it. So, but that's a process. It takes could take several months for that to happen. So I'm still in the process of doing that.
Wow.
But it's definitely helping a lot, definitely much better than being completely deaf on this side.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to get that for my dad. Can't hear anything. Sorry, Dad. Love you. So we have 8 commanders.
Yes.
And they kind of rotate positions. Right now you're patrol, watch
Yes.
commander. Describe your duties. What do you do?
Oh gosh, yes, it's patrol watch commander. So we have 4. We have out of the 8 commanders we have in the department, there are 4 of them. 4 of us are assigned to patrol because that's where we have the most amount of personnel. And like I said, it's the bread and butter of police work. That's where all of our calls for service, thousands of calls for service come through every year. And well, you know that you're in dispatching. And so it tends to be very busy and juggling the resources. So far, what I'm seeing is a lot of just juggling the personnel issues, making sure we're staffed completely to get our officers out there so that we can respond to all these calls for service can be challenging. I mean, you get officers that are injured, officers that get sick, and we want to make sure that we're keeping them out there. And we have other special assignments that come up, like warrant services or festivals or any other type of special enforcement details that could potentially take away from patrol. But we always have to be mindful of how we're staffing patrol, and then handling we have a very competent sergeants that are out there working out there, so it makes our jobs as commanders a lot easier. We're not constantly having to make decisions for them. They're actually out there making a lot of the really tough decisions when it comes to any call for service that's out there, whether it be a domestic dispute or sexual assault, even homicides. I can't say enough about our sergeants. I mean, they're just phenomenal. So.
What is your favorite part of the job right now?
Oh God, my favorite part is just even though I know patrol, it's just a slightly different role as a commander than I did as a sergeant. I was a sergeant for 10 years, and I did a lot of patrol as a sergeant. But it's a little bit different. It's kind of like I compare it to if it were a restaurant and you loved being a waiter out there doing tables and all that stuff, and then now you're getting assigned to the back room to learn how to handle the vendors, learn how to handle the everything that makes the restaurant run. So it's a little bit different like that.
Do you have any goals for the future?
Just getting out there. I mean, being able to connect more with the community. Again, I'm assigned to East District, which includes Colonia and Lemonwood are some of the bigger neighborhoods. And I've had that district before as a sergeant, so I'm happy to go back out there and reconnect with everybody out there. Colonia, Rose Park, Lemonwood, all those areas. A lot of good people out there. So
super cool.
Yes.
Anything else you want to share with the city of Oxnard? Anyone who might be watching?
Just that we're always looking for good people. I'm always recruiting. I'm always even when I'm not in the recruiting position, I'm always recruiting because I'm not going to be here forever. But I'll very likely still be living here, and I want to make sure that we get as many good people on our department as we possibly can. And I tell you, hiring locals is just. There's such an advantage to doing that, and we really recognize that because so we really focus on hiring a lot of local people. So if you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me. If you have any apprehensions or if you want to go on a ride along, I'll be more than happy to set any of that up. But we'd like to see more people come out and consider applying with us.
Born and raised, so he's asking for all the locals to come take care of him after he retires. Yeah. Love it. All right, so real quick before we go, favorite sport?
Oh gosh, favorite sport. I'm not much of a sports fan, to be honest with you. I hit the gym a lot.
So weightlifting, bodybuilding.
Yeah, if you're going to call that a sport, then I would say yes.
Favorite color?
I would say right now it's gray.
Food?
Filipino food.
Anything?
Just about, except a few things like bitter melon. But I'll do a lot of Filipino food.
Favorite band?
Favorite what?
Band?
Oh, band? Do I have a favorite band? I don't know if I don't think I have a favorite band. I just have, I'm like your typical Filipino that likes to hear a lot of the, I'm slow jams.
Okay. What era? 90s, 80s?
80s mostly.
Slow jams.
I'll say 80s mostly, rock ballads.
Top three favorite movies.
Ooh.
Or 3 of your top 10.
Top 3 favorite movies. I'm gonna say, gosh, I'm kind of reaching back, but I'll say John Wick, 1 and 2. I haven't seen 3 yet. Those are really good movies. Equalizer 1 and 2. Those are good movies. Matrix series, most of them. They kind of lost me. I think a little bit on the last one.
You know, Matrix 4 and John Wick 4 are coming out on the same day?
Oh, no kidding. I did not know
That's
that.
crazy, right?
No, yeah.
First concert you ever went to?
I went to a Summer Jam concert put on by 92.3 The Beat.
Where?
Back in, where was that at? My wife and I went. I forgot where it was out. It was an outdoor venue. But there were several bands there, several groups, and it was actually pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Favorite place to go to the beach?
Oxnard. Yeah.
Favorite way to spend your time off?
Gym. Hanging with my dog.
First car you ever owned?
First car I ever owned was a 91 Toyota Corolla. Crank windows, no AC, no radio.
What color?
Blue.
Where'd you get it from?
Ventura Toyota.
Favorite interview you've ever done?
This one right here.
I think with that, we will wrap it up. Thank you very much, Commander. Congratulations on your new position. And we're all lucky to have you here at the police department. And thank you all for tuning in, connecting with us here on social media. And be safe out there, officer.